How long can one person physically paint miniatures for? Let's figure out. Or you could just read the title of this video and figure out. Don't cut me off, intro. Recently, Brandon from Goobertown Hobbies visited my house.
Hello.
Oh, hi. Thanks.
Your guess is as good as mine. When he visited, he brought with a little sack of treats, so let's see what's inside, shall we? A little mug. Oh, and what's this?
Dear Scott,
We've been watching you closely. We noticed that you struggle with getting your armies painted.
We also noticed that you don't like to lose.
And that's why we're challenging you.
That's right. We want to see which one of us can paint miniatures for the longest amount of time.
The only breaks allowed are for the bathroom and eating.
So, are you up to the challenge?
Sincerely, Midwinter Minis
and Goobertown Hobbies.
Well, they're right on both accounts. I am terrible at painting my armies, and I will never skip an opportunity to expand my ego. So, alright. It's about 7:40 a.m., and I'm going to embark on the most epic painting journey I've ever been on. Off to my right here, I have a ton of my Legion of Blood army primed up and ready for me to paint. I took this challenge fairly seriously. The name of the game was Energy Conservation. Anything that I could do that limited my energy expenditure during the painting marathon was vital. I had my entire army based and primed the night before. My wife helped me out with meal preparation during the challenge so I wouldn't have to make or heat up food. I had energy drinks and various high-calorie snacks like RX bars available. I came up with a paint scheme the night before so I wasn't spinning my wheels trying to figure out what I was going to do. I had my laptop, headphones, and movies near my desk so I could just bust them out if I needed some background noise. And I set up all my cameras the night before so I wasn't messing around with those on the day of. If I was going to lose to the great Midwinter Minis and Goobertown Hobbies, it was going to be knowing that I had done everything that I could. No stone left unturned. I started by hitting the whole army with a zenithal undercoat, anticipating being able to finish a large amount of miniatures. Oh, what a cute idea, like my paint schemes are ever efficient. I then jumped right into the Blood Knights because I knew those had to be finished. I got a few comments saying how I should paint them. Okay, I'll paint them. At the same time, I was painting some vampire characters because my paint plan approach had similar steps and I wanted to be efficient across my entire army. I hit the models with a varied metallic undercoat, a chipping medium, and then a nice scarlet color. Alright, a little under 5 hours in, Blood Knights all chipped up. I'm gonna have some lunch and then we'll get right back to it. Feeling pretty strong, but we got a ways to go. After lunch, I got right back to the vampires, working on base coating all the metallics. A while ago, I heard someone say that it's a shame whenever painters use exclusively one metallic color on their miniatures. So for these, I used bronze, silver, copper, and a bluish metal to have a decent amount of diversity. But it was kind of causing a problem. I'm getting kind of tar pitted right now in this metallics base coating stage. There's so much chainmail and so many metal bits on these horsies that it's just taking a while to get all these base coats done. But once it's done, hopefully the rest of the process goes a little bit smoother. This is future Scott responding to past Scott's hopes and dreams. Ha! It took me literally forever to base coat all the metallics. I was having to do multiple coats of paint to cover up the red, and I think that's what was causing the slowdown. I stopped for dinner and kept soldiering on into the night until about 10:30 p.m. I've been painting Blood Knights for 15 hours at that point, and I was starting to crave some Lord of the Rings. I just about finished base coating all the metallics on these guys. I'm going to hit it with a gloss varnish and then a nice wash, and that will totally transform them, and I'm super excited to see it after grinding on these guys for about 15 hours. So the gloss varnish I hit my knights with prevented further chipping from happening with my chipping medium that I applied earlier, but it also allowed my wash to work a lot better. I was coming up on the 20-hour mark, and in my brain, it felt like the 24-hour mark was the finish line. I've done a 24-hour painting marathon before, and I live streamed it a couple years ago, and having a finish line was helpful mentally. In this situation, it's go until you can go, no mo, which is probably not a healthy thing to do, and I'm not condoning it. Gotta throw that in there so I'm not liable for the first miniature painting death by exhaustion.
We're coming up on 24 hours of solid mini painting goodness.
And I am baiting, so I think we're gonna need some artificial assistance. Tastes pretty good. Oh my god. Over the night, I had worked on applying highlights to the metallics. For the chainmail, some simple dry brushing will do, but for the bronze and copper, a more focused application of highlight was needed. I also started to apply some desaturated blue to the fabrics. I wanted to use a glowy teal as the eye color for my vampires, and a good way to make it feel like it belongs in the scheme is by having a desaturated version of that same color somewhere else on the model. While I grind away through the night, let's talk about this video's sponsor. Cobalt Keep is a miniature accessory brand. Their bread and butter focus around the usage of magnets. Cobalt Keep sells a variety of base sizes that you will find in typical miniature war games. What's special about these bases, however, is the magnet well on the underside, which allows for easy installation with a little super glue. In fact, I'm using my Cobalt Keep bases on my Legion of Blood army. Now your minis are able to stick to any metal surface such as a figure case or a Cobalt Keep painting handle that come in two different sizes, one a little larger than the other for different sized hands. The smaller of the two handles have a convenient base to stabilize the model on your desk while you're not painting it. Cobalt Keep has just released a new base size. The larger 64mm base size that is commonly used in wargaming. This larger base uses a strong 15mm by 2mm magnet to support those larger models. Cobalt Keep says there are more large base sizes coming, so be on the lookout for those. Not only are these products wonderfully convenient, but Cobalt Keep is also giving viewers of this channel 20% off with the coupon code Miniac20 when used at checkout on their entire cart. You can find all of their products linked in the description below. Thanks for sponsoring and supporting YouTubers Cobalt Keep. Now back to the video. By now, I had dropped painting the other characters and was only painting the Blood Knights. At this point, my communication was short and sweet. 3 statements. Over 26 hours in, finished the full extended Lord of the Rings trilogy.
I hate painting horses.
Was that 3? Yeah, that was 3. I then began working on the other terribly tedious parts of painting cavalry, like base coating the other million parts on these stupid horses. These horses have little details everywhere like horns and skulls and hooks for God knows whatever reason. And there's even horns on the back of the horse's heel. Like, how does that make sense? That's gotta be uncomfortable, right? I'm mad. At a certain point, after having spent over 25 hours on this sole cavalry unit, I came to a conclusion. Okay, here's what it is. Sometimes you just gotta admit defeat. These things are taking forever to paint, so I might as well do a good job on them, right? So I put some more effort into the various parts that I had already deemed as finished. I added some contrast in the form of additional highlights to the blue fabrics, and I did the same for the white. And then I very quickly changed my tune. Remember when I said I wanted to do a good job on these miniatures? Ha! Screw that! I am a large amount of hours in, I don't know how many, and I haven't finished a single model, and it is affecting my brain. It was crunch time mode. I was not going to do this challenge and have nothing to show for it, so I kicked it into high gear. I base coated all the remaining parts and added very rough highlights to them. For instance, all the horse musculature got one highlight with very little blending involved. I ain't messing around. And then finally, with some dead flesh tone applied and some basic material applied, I hit a milestone. If you asked me how many units or models I would have finished by 33 hours, I definitely would not have said 5. But I'm feeling fine, so I think I'm just gonna keep going, but we're gonna go with some low-hanging fruit here and paint the Direwolves, which should be very easy, permitting I don't somehow make it ridiculously hard, because apparently I'm pretty good at that. Also, I accidentally made my Blood Knight scheme America. No regrets. For the dogs, I warmed up my undercoat that I applied 33 hours ago with ochre, which is a yellowish tone, and then broke out the GW contrast paints, baby. I wanted the wolves to be a cream color to match the cream accent color of the Blood Knights. I slapped on a quick dry brush to bring out some more detail and then hit the wolves with a sepia ink to kind of break up the uniform color all over them, but also to kind of knock back some of the dusty effect I get when I dry brush. I also gave these guys teal eyes with some quick cheaty OSL to fit in with the other vampires. As a last fun detail, I added some slimy saliva in between their teeth with some uhu goo applied with a toothpick. I based these dogs and I had 2 units done. Boom. One took about 10 times as long as the other, but at least I had it done. I moved on to painting one of my heroes, but the end was in sight. And with the clock striking 9:40 p.m., that marks the completion of the 38th hour of continual miniature painting with only breaks for food and pee-pees and poo-poos. Goobs, Guy, Goobs and Guy, Guy Goobs, Goobs, Midwinter Minis. I had 38 hours. Can you beat that? You think I'd spoil the ending of their videos? Nope. Gotta go watch them. If you guys don't know the 2 channels that collaborated with me on this challenge, Goobertown Hobbies and Midwinter Minis, I've linked them in the description below. They're both miniature painting focused channels that I love. Goobertown Hobbies is literally the Bob Ross of miniature painting, which is a compliment that gets thrown around a lot, but it's actually true for him. The videos that Guy makes over on the Midwinter Minis channel is extremely practical advice for wargamers to get their armies painted up. It's fantastic advice. If you don't know these channels, again, linked in the description below. In case anyone's curious about lasting health effects for painting for 38 hours in a row, my thumb, pointer finger, and middle finger have been numb for 6 days. It'll probably work itself out, right? Now, some of you may not think that I painted for 38 hours straight, and that is totally reasonable. So I time-lapsed the entire thing start to finish, and besides leaving for 15-20 minutes at a time to eat some food with my wife, I was at my desk all the time. Roll it! I'm happy with how long I lasted and what I finished. I'm excited to have a completed Legion of Blood army in the future. I'll just maybe paint it incrementally instead of all at one time. Let me know if you guys want to see a dedicated video about how I painted the Blood Knights, describing the process in more detail. That's going to do it for this one, guys. If you like this video, check out the video I made 2 weeks ago where I converted the Blood Knights that I painted in this video. If you want to support the channel, there are multiple ways for you to do that, namely a Patreon campaign with a bunch of fun rewards, like a Discord server where you and I can hang out any day of the week and chat about your miniature painting projects, or comparing how long we can last painting miniatures before we die of exhaustion. There are other ways to support the channel, like buying the vampire miniature that I produce or buying hobby equipment that I recommend, linked in the description below. Subscribe or die! But most importantly, don't forget to paint more minis!